I want to make a quick video here about attending college, not a specifically uh, political one, but uh, just in case anyone watches this and they're trying to decide whether they should go or not. Right off the bat, it has to be admitted that some people should and some people shouldn't, and there's no prescription I can make uh, that would be applicable to everybody. But what I can say is for sure within society, within the media, within the school systems, the necessity and the desirability of attending university are greatly exaggerated. Now, that's not to say that they aren't, that it isn't sometimes useful, and sometimes it's absolutely required, unfortunately. But in my experience, perhaps not a majority, but at least a lot of the people who go, not that they're not ready. A lot of people say, well, a lot of people go, they're not ready. I think almost anybody can manage to go. But whether that's worth the expense is another question entirely. What we've seen over the years is the state has continually subsidized it more and more to the point now where anybody can go, basically. The state will give loans in excess of what is necessary to anybody. Uh, I've I've been impressed. When I went, I did take some student loans. I paid most of it myself. I worked full time the whole time I was in school, and that basically paid for almost all of it. But I did take some student loans. But my student loan debt was never very high. A lot less than most people have on credit cards, even. But I remember I had a coworker who uh, they had attended one university for 3 years, then left without a degree, went to another university for 3 more years, left without a degree, and on top of that, they had a house payment and a car payment, and they were a single mother. And uh, I don't know what the debts were on the house and the car, but the student loans were in the many tens, I think like 60 or $70,000, and they were still able to get more. So anybody who wants to can go, and this has meant that uh, schools, I don't care who you are, some school will accept you. There might be some schools that won't, but some school they have every incentive because you represent a revenue stream from the federal government. Every single student is a trickle of money, and not necessarily a small trickle. And so there will be at least some community college or somebody who will accept just about anybody. And what's this done is the relative value, the marginal utility of a university degree is steadily declining. And when people, at least I don't know if this is still the case. When I was in high school 10 years ago, uh, college degrees had this aura of you've really done something special. And there was a time when that was probably an appropriate way to view them. But really, after World War II, so even the baby boomers, they went to college at higher rates than anybody before, and the the real exceptionalism of a college degree was really severely eroded by the time my parents went to school, and was essentially gone by the time I went, and it's basically becoming now more akin to a high school diploma. Now, I can't say that it's completely this case. When I got done, I got a degree that I don't think was very valuable. However, the first time I applied for a job that pays very well, actually, he said that I was overqualified when I applied and put in my application, had my interview. He said I was overqualified, even though my degree was in basically the most unrelated field possible. And he said it's because you have a college degree, and a lot of people in this job don't. Um, so it did help me in that regard, and even now, it still goes on my resume, and I guess you stand out relative to people who don't have that, but I don't think so because, well, no, I can't say that. I guess it has helped me a little bit, but when I think about how much it cost in time and in money, uh, does it seem like it was worth it? Probably not. I do recall, I went to college. I had a job at Burger King when I was in high school, and if I had simply not gone to college and continued to live at home and just worked full time at Burger King, even assuming that I never got promoted or I never got a better job, both assumptions are poor too. I think there was a good chance I could have ended up making a lot more, but even the minimum amount after 4 years or 5 years, I would have had enough money to simply buy a house. Not get in a house and make payments, but to totally own a house. And yet, after college, I found myself in a position where I have essentially no savings. I had a little bit of silver that I had bought, and that was it. And you know, I was lucky since I did work. I did have some debt, but not not tons. But I know people who they get done and they have tons and tons and tons, and uh, before they ever even get close to getting out of it, they end up getting in even more because they buy a house or whatever. So I think the main problem is a lot of people go because they think it's just required. But if you don't have a really clear idea of what you're going for and why you need to go. Now, if you want to be a doctor, you don't have a choice. The way the licensing works, you have to get a college degree. And if your ambition is to be a doctor, you have to go. And it's not just doctors. There's any number of professions where this is true. Uh, However, a lot of people don't even know what they want to be, and so they'll just go. Uh, Now, I can't categorically deny that because some people will advise, and I don't think without justification, that if you don't really know, just go to the very cheapest place you possibly can, take the most general classes you possibly can as quickly as you can, so that when you do decide, you'll have it mostly done or mostly paid for. But and then there are other people. I mean, I had friends and relatives who were basically wealthy enough that college was basically a 4 or 5 year vacation. They went, and usually colleges these days. Okay, it's weird that I would say that, like I have any experience with colleges in the old days, but colleges today are basically like playgrounds for young adults. I mean, they have recreation centers, they have gyms, they have pools, they have tennis courts, and uh, the sporting events that can be really entertaining, and party, a nice nightlife. And I mean, I know people that basically it was just a vacation. Basically, I mean, they were going to classes. They didn't squander what educational opportunities were there, but for them, it's just a lot of fun. Uh, but if you're and that's fine. I mean, if someone wants to pay for you, or you're rich enough to just afford to do that, and it's no big deal, whatever. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're not in a position where it's just going to be free for you or easy for you to pay for, you got to think really long and hard about doing it, because it's a huge expense. Not just in how much it costs, but in the opportunity costs. By not working those couple years, or working less. I mean, I worked that whole time, but you can't. It's really hard when you have a job to be like, okay, uh, I mean, your main focus has to be school, and so you can't say, well, I'll work whatever. I like when I go to job interviews to say, I'll do whatever you want. 24/7, I'm on call. That's really good if you can do that. You can't do that when you're in college, and you always have to be like, well, my schedule needs to be this or that, and so that costs you a lot of money in the end. So uh, I think, and it's really bad right now because since the depression has hit, and as it continues, just a lot of businesses, a lot of schools are really kind of advertising, hey, come, this will help you get through. Hypothetically, of course, it's possible, but for every person who goes to ITT Tech and lands a decent job. There's quite a few who go to ITT Tech, and I'm wrong to single them out. I have no basis for singling them out over anybody else. It's just because they're always running ads that I mention them. Um, People go and they end up not really anywhere more than uh, they would have been if they hadn't gone. Again, I'm not sure that there was ever this golden age where if you got a college degree, that was basically your ticket to a well-paying job for your life. That's the characterization that I'm usually told. Don't know how accurate that really is, but if it ever was true, it's certainly not the case now. Um, and most people, when they get done, they don't have a job waiting for them. If they do, it's because they were working to that end independently, for a long time. So I do know people who already were working in a job that they ended up, even before they had a degree, they were already working in the field, and or they already had a relationship with a potential employer, something like that. The fact that they just got the degree didn't guarantee anything. So again, this isn't to tell people not to go, but to uh, really consider how much it costs and what you're going for. And I don't know if I am in a position to advocate people wait a couple years. I know people who have done that. Um, if you wait a couple years and you kind of get on your feet a little bit, a lot of times you don't have to go into as much debt. Although it's still a lot of money. I was, when I was in high school, people always talked about how expensive it was, and I just imagined huge bills. The semester cost, the tuition, and all that, it is affordable even on a low income if you work 40 hours a week and do so all the time, and live frugally. I mean, I found the cheapest place I could possibly rent, and that's where I lived. Um, but it's most of your checks. It's most of the money you make. And for most of the time I was in college, after all my bills were paid, I had just a little bit of money left, just a tad, for an ounce of silver here and an ounce of silver there. Oh, and a whole bunch of firearms too. But so anyway, just some thoughts on there. Nothing definitive, but